I'm assuming that you all got your last broadband meeting authority minutes, and having had reviewed them, is there a motion to approve those minutes as submitted, or do you desire any changes?
I have them here. I have them here too.
And we'll just take a quick moment and peruse those minutes.
I think the last time we met was August.
Yeah, it's not gonna take you long to peruse the minutes. Mostly presentation material.
That was the meeting, we had updates from Chantel.
Yes.
From River Street.
No, you're a voter, you gotta stay.
We talked about it.
No,
I need a quorum. Where are you going?
No, you have to stay.
You let him get his own water.
Anybody else?
Please.
Yeah, go ahead. That's fine.
Road water.
There's only one bottle left, just letting you know.
Okay,
Madam Chairperson, I make a motion we approve the minutes.
He's younger, he'll survive.
thank you, Mr. Carter. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. All those in favor of the approval of the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nick?
Aye.
Okay, and those are approved with unanimous consent. Mr. Sandy, I will turn the meeting over to you, sir.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair, and for our newly elected supervisors, the one duty they may not have been aware of is they also are Broadband Authority members, so.
We keep that a secret.
So come January, you'll be part of the Broadband Authority as well. Steve,
Does that mean we get service, double cowboy?
Ah.
touche.
Get promises.
Marshall, good catch, good catch.
So I will be as quick as I can, and I apologize for the lateness of the day, and also just, I understand this is kind of getting thrown on you, but I, even up till just before this evening session of the meeting, have still been getting information from these guys, and they've been great to try to help us come to some solution for an application. So it's been, it's kind of been a rush to get these things together as well. But I did want to give just some brief background, so again, I'll try to be really quick for the benefit of everyone in the room, including the two newly elected board members. So this Franklin County Broadband Investments, we've been working on broadband in the county really since 2019. I mean, before that we did the broadband plan, but as far as grant funding, this just kind of outlines what we've done over those years. So since 2019, every year we've been successful getting money from the state. 2019 was Tobacco Commission, 2020 was our first body award. There was a small Chantel piece associated with that, which was Old Salem School Road. And then the bulk of that was the fixed wireless with the Blue Ridge Towers, Siontech, our BrisNet initially, which is now Siontech. So that is that one when we refer to 2020 body. 2021, we were awarded just under $1 million. That was a project with Chantel. 2022, we actually were successful in getting two projects. One with Chantel and the other with River Street Networks, which was part of a regional project. That one is actually being administered by West Piedmont, and I'll touch on both of those in a little more detail here in a second. 2023, so last year we again applied for two. It's a long story, but we went back and we were trying to fill the gaps that the state kind of made us, created due to some changes in definitions. We went back with both Chantel and River Street. The state ended up provisionally awarding a letter of intent for $1.3 million, at least for our portion of it, for River Street network. However, we were not successful in getting the Chantel application, and it was actually the project below the cutoff line as far as the funding. So they only had this much funding. We were the next project below that with that project. So far to date, there's been over $31 million of private investment from those folks listed up there. The county investment has been 8.6, and just, I think it's important to note that 7.7 of that is actually, I say ARPA funds. Technically, it wasn't ARPA funds. Brian will get me for saying that, but basically we were able to free up some dollars because we got the ARPA funds We set some aside for broadband, we set some aside for utilities, and you guys remember that. But in essence, it was 7.7 million of that was designated, if you will, for broadband. And that's what we're using for a lot of those matches on the grant and so forth. Overall, that's resulted in about 7,800 wireline connections so far, and then in addition to the fixed wireless that we have as well. So currently, the 2020 has actually been closed out. So currently, we're working on the 21 project with Shintel, the 22 project, the 22 award with Shintel. Those are the updates that you get in your Friday packet, kind of a monthly update. That's what those are related to, both of those projects actually, because they're both ongoing at the same time. The 2023 has not officially been issued yet. We're not under contract for that yet because it's still a letter of intent. The whole reason with that is because that is part of a utility leverage program, and I'll touch on that later, but it's a partnership with American Electric Power, APCO, that had to get SEC approval, if you remember all that discussion, which we do have now. The state was wanting to see some progress there and make sure the SEC approved and make sure things were moving forward before they went ahead and released that money. But the money has been set aside, we're just not under contract for that yet. So we're continuing to work with Siontech on fixed wireless build out. We're continuing to work with Brightspeed, misspelling, sorry, on chronic DSL issues. So I know Supervisor Mitchell, Supervisor Tatum, we met with representatives of Brightspeed, and there's actually a representative on the phone from Brightspeed, Chris Dillon. We've met with them, and we've been working through some chronic issues that we've had in Callaway, Snow Creek, Henry areas with some of the Brightspeed issues. They've hired some more people to help with those, and I think that we're seeing some positive results. I think, from what I gather, that we're seeing some positive activity there. Now, we just had some rain today, so we'll see.
Yeah, I was about to say, that rain in 2 months.
See if you get calls, that'll be the true test, right? It hasn't rained in a while, so. Chris, we'll be in touch if we hear anything about, any issues. We're having a lot of rain up here today. And we're continuing to work on increased cellular services, and so we recognize that there's still areas of the county that are experiencing issues with cellular coverage. I will report that Anthony Smith had told me that Verizon has finally come online at the Westlake Tower, so that should be active. T-Mobile is working on a new site to help remedy the issue that we had in Ferrum. Tim's not here, but there were some coverage issues in Ferrum, so there's a new site going up for T-Mobile. The other thing I'm still waiting on that I've supposed to have a proposal, if you recall, for some of our towers that we own. I have not received anything as of this date, so
Is Anthony live with Verizon? Is it live?
that's what I've been told.
Okay.
That's what I've been told.
He is currently on mute, but we can unmute him if you need him to speak.
So just a couple other updates. Well, this is specific on the Shintel project. So what actually Maddie does for me, Chris Kyle is from Shintel. His team, his project manager, sends us a weekly update of the locations where they're actively working on their 2021 and 2022 project. Maddie then takes that information, actually puts it on our website, social media, so we can kind of let people know each week kind of where the crews will be working. And so this is actually a snapshot from this week of some of the areas that their crews are out there working as we're continuing to build out that network. Those projects, about 565 miles of fiber. I'm pretty sure I got that right. Chris can correct me later. I think he's got some things. It's those projects, about 3,500 premises. The construction is ongoing, but as we mentioned back in August, we still are experiencing delays with permitting and make ready, and that really has to do with the AEP poles that they have to attach wires to, and each one of those requires a permit, and in some cases requires those poles to be replaced. And so we've seen a little bit of progress there. I don't think I would say we're real happy with the progress, but we've seen some progress there on the APCO side as far as being able to turn around
I wish we were going underground.
permits. Well, I'm getting there.
Okay.
So we're dealing with that, but as we mentioned in August, really everyone around the state is kind of dealing with the same issue. If there's any kind of aerial portion to the project, they're dealing with the same issue. We have not requested an extension, so currently the project is still expected to be completed by year end of 2024. This is just a snapshot you'll recognize from some of your monthly reports. It just kind of shows the different, they call them DSAs, but the different cabinet areas where the coverage will be. So Hardy, Westlake, Boones Mill, Ferrum, Redwood, those are just some of the kind of the general service areas that are covered in the 2021 and 22 grants. The other one is the River Street, West Piedmont project. River Street, when they do get here, there is no active service from River Street yet. So when they come, they will be a new provider, a new ISP provider in the county. As I mentioned earlier, this is a regional project with Henry and Patrick counties, but it's also a part of the utility leverage program with APCO, and that's a APCO partnership where they're putting in money. Basically, what that means is they're building what they call the middle mile fiber as part of their modernization of their grid, and then River Street will connect to that fiber to then distribute the internet to individual households. So that's kind of the relationship on this project.
Do we have any idea on when River Street's saying they're gonna start?
February of 24's.
Cause I was talking to a guy who actually contracts for them, and, he's saying that a lot of the places that really turn the screws on, they, squeaky wheel gets the grease. So maybe it's something I need to.
Yeah, the issue, I'll just tell you, the issue here is APCO again, is because of the partnership with APCO, APCO is still finishing their engineering of their middle mile, and so they can't really start building their network until they know where APCO's network is and then where the connections will be. So that's what's happening now, is APCO is finishing up their engineering, and what I was last told was February 24 is when construction will start. So that's the utility leverage program. I think is a good idea. It's just in practice, it's made things very difficult for us, and it's made it very time consuming. In a perfect world, the broadband would follow all the electric lines, really, because you got electric lines to pretty much everybody's house, and it would follow those, whether it's a co-op or whether it's one of these utility-owned providers or investor-owned providers. So the holdup really for most of 2023 was getting through the SEC and having APCO do their engineering, and so those are really the main reasons that construction has not begun yet. And again, this just represents kind of those areas down in the bottom right and bottom left quadrants of the county is really the River Street network coverage area where they'll be building out that coverage. So bottom right is Snow Creek and Sago up to Pinhook, and then bottom left is really Endicott, kind of Ferrum Henry areas is where their service will be when they start providing service. That's it. All right, so that's a really brief recap. I'll be glad to answer any questions before we jump forward to 2024 if anybody has any.
Y'all have any questions?
2024, so the state body still has a program. There's currently 42 million available. It's not 50, that's really because of our letter of intent we took away. They took it off this year's funding, so there's only 42 million statewide. Just a couple bullets that those applications are due December 19th, and so that's really the essence of this meeting, is we really need to make some decisions or at least get some really good direction from you guys on where we want to go with the body 2024 grant program. They're telling us sometime in the spring that they'll make announcements. A lot of that is related to BEAD. You've probably heard a lot about BEAD. It's a federal program. There's a lot of money coming in to the state, $1.4 billion. That's not all for infrastructure, but most of it is for infrastructure. The other part of that is digital equity, and so when we were at the recent VACO conference, I went to the broadband session, and we talked they talked a little bit more about that, what that means. That could be things like high-tech agriculture, it could be telehealth, it could be a lot of other things besides kind of infrastructure, but that's part of that 1.4 as well. So those guidelines are still being developed, and sometime in 2024, we'll kind of have the rules for what that's gonna look like and how that money will be available. Basically, the individual ISPs, internet service providers, will be the ones applying for the BEAD in various locations. There are gonna be guidelines that the state has set forth that they'll have to follow, and they'll look for letters of support from us, as localities and potential partners through that process. But basically on the BEAD, stay tuned. There should be enough money there to get everybody in the state hooked up, if they do it right, I guess.
But those awards are, the applicants are the vendors, it's not the
internet
municipalities.
Correct.
That's a big difference.
It is different from VADI. So VADI is, the localities have to make those applications, and so VADI for you guys is just Virginia Telecommunications Initiative is what VADI stands for, but it's the state program for broadband funding. So that's just giving you kind of a glimpse ahead. So again, 42 million, we did put in a letter of intent in October saying, hey, we probably are gonna submit an application. It's not binding, but if you don't do it, then you can't turn in one. So we sent one in, said, yeah, we'll probably be doing something. We did get three, I'll put proposals in quotes. We got 3 proposals from internet providers. Brightspeed, Shentel, and Zytel have given us letters, which I gave you copies of, with kind of an initial proposal, if you will, from each of what they would envision a VADI application looking like. My opinion as staff is I think we should certainly apply for something in VADI. We've been successful in the past. We were really close last time getting it. I think we should not just totally rely on BEAD. I think we should attempt to get some VADI funding, and so that's really where we are right now.
Steve, if I may interrupt,
Sure.
as you and I had discussed, we think it's gonna be advantageous to go for a smaller chunk of VADI funding because the pot it is very small statewide. We might have more success cutting off a small piece of the pie rather than getting our application thrown out for a large request.
That's been my feeling is, I think that's the best way to go. The state doesn't really give us guidance on a maximum amount or anything like that. But my feeling just of dealing with the program, talking to all these different providers, talking to the state, is that $42 million, they're gonna wanna spread it around the state. It's not gonna all go to one project, I don't think. Last year, it was spread over, 10 to 12 projects, something like that. And I would expect a similar sort of thing here. So, what I'd really ask these guys to do is provide us with something that is in line with that, kind of an initial piece of the body pot, but also asking that, hey, give us a proposal that achieves universal coverage, which really means we're gonna hook everybody up in our county. And so, really what that results in is a small ask with VADI, and the rest of it comes as a BEAD application in 2024, is really where we're at. And so, that's really what all these providers have kind of come up with and provided some information. And so you have copies. I tried to summarize those in the chart. And so I just did a little snapshot. All of these are fiber projects underground. So to answer your question or to address your question earlier, really all these will be, for the most part, I guess I can't say it's 100% underground, but for the most part, these will be underground projects. Brightspeed has proposed a body of about 1,300 households for a total cost of just under $7. The VADI request would be 4.2. They have not asked for any county match at this point, and then the VADI cost per passing. So one of the things in the application process I think that the state is going to be looking at is what's the state's cost to get to each one of these homes. And so I kind of summarized that on each one of these. So for this one, it's 3232. Really, that's just the total VADI request divided by the number of VADI eligible households is really what that is. And so for me, I believe that's one of the factors the state's going to be looking at. They're going to be looking at, I think, what can we do to get the biggest bang for the buck at the state level? How many can we pick up? How many houses for what cost? And so I think that's what they're going to be looking at. And so I tried to summarize what I think would be important to us. Of course, those things are important to us. Seeing more people connected is important for us. And the amount of county match, I think, is obviously something that's important for us as well. What kind of money is being requested that we put into the project. Snapshot on Shentel, and I should say these numbers are very fluid. If I have some numbers, I may have some numbers a little bit incorrect, because we literally have been going back and forth even as late as today on just, hey, here's some numbers that we put together, and I think any of these can probably be tweaked a little bit one way or another, but here's kind of what we know right now. Shentel, again, fiber project, 2273 households, total cost of 8.5, a body request of 5.5, county request of 250. That equals out to about 2419 per passing. Zytel, very similar request, 2739, 13.1 million total cost, 5.3 state request. 816 county requested match, and then a body cost per passing of 2462. And what I would like to do, Madam Chair, as we have two representatives here and one on the phone, is give them, I told them probably 5 minutes,
Sure.
just to really speak to their proposal, if they could, and their company, whatever they wanted to do in that time, and we do have Rodney Gray.
Correct.
Rodney Gray from Zytel, Chris Kyle from Shentel, and then we have Chris Dillon on the phone from Brightspeed. And I just presented them in alphabetical order. So if you want, we can unmute Chris and let Chris say a few things relative to the Brightspeed proposal. Or he unmuted himself, I guess. Chris, can you hear us okay?
Yes, sir.
Oh, perfect. You sound great.
That's great.
Yeah, so if you want, hopefully you heard kind of my very quick run through. If you want, just take a couple minutes to share about Brightspeed and what you guys are proposing to do, and this proposal that you have submitted, if you don't mind.
No, thanks, Steve, and thank you, supervisors, for the time. We submitted a proposal. We think it's very attractive to the state and body. It won't get universal coverage. We submitted two to management about how we could help you get there with a bead as well as this, piggyback on each other. We're excited about the opportunity to help within the county and drive economic development and connect rural areas to what everybody else has. So we think we have consultants who are helping us with the applications. We think it'll be very competitive in the grant cycle, but we would defer to y'all, and any support we could get, we'd appreciate it.
Any questions relative to Brightspeed? Just to clarify, Chris, that this is a fiber to the home project, so it's not a DSL, it's not copper line, it's it would be new infrastructure, I guess, is the way I would
Yes.
word it.
Yes, sir. It is capable of 10 gig up and 10 gig down. So this is a future-proof network. There will be no hardware upgrades in our lifetimes, at least. Everything will be a software upgrade. But yes, what we would be putting in the ground is fiber to the home that doesn't, and I appreciate your comments about copper. It's not impacted about water or rain or any natural. If somebody cuts it, that's one thing, but we don't have any problems with our fiber network after it's installed.
Chris, thank you. This is Lori, Chair of the Broadband Authority. I appreciate you being with us on the phone. Do any of the supervisors have questions for Chris? Okay.
And I'll come back, we'll circle back with all of them, but I guess, if we could kind of go through each one to give them a moment to just kind of share. And I'll just tell you, the difficult part, or the good situation is we got 3 people that want to work with us, which is great.
Yeah.
The difficult part is we probably got to pick one.
Just one?
that we're going to work with. And so that's going to be the challenge is, I think they're all good proposals. I think they're all good companies to work with. I think it's really going to come down to that, we're gonna have to, unless we wanna try to figure out a way to split it up, which I've racked my brain and tried to figure out, I think we're really, really need to come down to a decision about moving forward with one for a body. That doesn't necessarily mean BEAD can't have multiple applications and multiple requests, but I think for body, I think we, really need to narrow down to one request, because the requests actually are very similar in a lot of ways.
But Steve, is it fair enough to say that, for instance, Chris with Brightspeed, is B funding involved with their proposal?
Correct, all of them actually would propose a small body application, but
With B?
the rest of it being funded by B.
I have to say that I'm really concerned about the B program.
I think we all are probably a
Yeah.
little nervous about what it's gonna be.
Yeah, I mean, because the rules of the game, I think, are not established, and federal programs of any kind, really slow everything down, to put it simply, and how it's going to align with the rollout of our program and the timeliness of any allocation, when we really today don't even know the allocation rules.
Right.
All of that worries me. I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir
Yeah.
here.
The good things for us is the state does have a lot of say on kind of the parameters.
Yeah.
And some of the rules. They don't have full control, but that's kind of what they're working through now, is trying to set up those rules for the state. The other part is the person over the B program is Evan Feynman, who was here in Virginia, lives in Virginia. It helps us, I think, that at least those things are there in place, but your point is valid. It's federal money. There's gonna be some difficulties to it. It's gonna take longer to probably build out. And in fact, it's gonna put more burden on these guys, from federal reporting requirements. Brian and I love it. We've had our taste of the federal reporting stuff, but it's honestly gonna put it back on some of these providers to have to deal with that, to make it work out. Now, presumably, there'll still be a 2025 body, but I don't know if anybody knows that at this point. So,
Who knows?
but to your point, because we don't know those rules, we don't know all the parameters, we don't know the time frame. And I think all of us really feel we should still be going after something in this round of body for that purpose.
Absolutely.
Really to keep moving and to keep the connections going. So, if you don't mind, I'll just defer to Chris Kyle here for a few minutes from Shentel. Chris, I'll pull this up.
I was gonna say, yeah, I'll be brief, I have a couple of slides, visual aids.
You're fine.
Y'all have been here a long time.
No, Chris, we appreciate you hanging with us this late.
Well, we appreciate, the partnership that we've had, with this county, the county leadership, the mapping expertise. I mean, I can't tell you enough of what Steve, and Chris have done, to push, broadband here and have these providers, like us be here today to want to partner with you. Here's who we are, just real quick, 120-year-old company, basic, strategy. We build great networks. This grant's gonna be all fiber. Everything new we're building is fiber. We provide excellent customer support, and we partner with the local community. We've got 847 employees. We've got here in Franklin County, I pulled it before coming down here, 22 employees in Franklin County, but we've got a cluster in Roanoke, Bedford, and Lynchburg, which we're gonna draw on as we do some of this project. 267 million in annual revenues. We're profitable. That's a big deal to us. Sustainable. All of the capital required for this project and going, for this project is committed, and we have that here. So that's what we've got. That's who we are. We're publicly traded, so we can be transparent, and that's important to me about how we're doing and what we're doing. This is our network. This is where we are. Virginia, West Virginia. A lot of fiber there.
You just tell me when to click.
All right. What do we have here in Franklin County? 18,000 homes in the county here. I didn't put businesses on here, and I should have, but are connected. We have ongoing work. Steve was touching on this. 4,120 locations from our 21 and 22 grants. We got 530 that are currently lit with fiber. We'll have 1,150 by year end here, and that is, in light of a lot's on AEP, we're doing a lot to reconfigure. This grant that we're doing, we've learned we are not gonna be leveraging AEP in any way for this grant going forward. But AEP's got their plate full for sure. So outside of our grants, we've been doing speed rolls, increasing speeds. You can see I wanted to put our rates here, what we're doing. ACP, affordability is gonna be a big thing. We're partners with that, we do that, and there's gonna be some more stuff we do. We do stuff with the schools. DOCSIS 4.0 upgrades, we're gonna keep densifying our network, and this DOCSIS 4.0 allows us to do even higher speeds on the electronic side with our cable plan. All right, so what are we doing here for this grant? We're gonna, as Steve had in the summary, that was a great summary in a short period of time, 2,273 locations, out of the 4,758, and that was the grant that we just missed the cut last year on, and we'll come back and hit those others. We're worried about BEAD also, but we're committed on this thing. Total project cost $8.5 million. County match not to exceed $250K, and I've got a map to show you where all this is going. You've got the buried. I'll skip through the rest of this. So this is a busy slide. I'll point your eyes to the purple or fuchsia or whatever color that is that someone in marketing did. That's going to be this 24 grant. The blue is what we're doing today. When I talk about those 500 homes that are lit, the 1,100 that are going to come up by year, and that's all that blue. The orange is just our cable plant today, existing cable modem. But blue is a bunch of fiber going in, and fuchsia is what we do for this grant that are currently unserved, and then the salmon color would be this bead funding. So we wanted to graphically show you what we're doing.
And just to remind folks, and then maybe for the new members, and I alluded to it earlier, but we ran into an issue through this process where the rules of the game changed. And so as we were going through it, we had to revise our applications to cover a smaller set of households in 2022. In 2023, we were able, the state said, okay, well now you can include them again. And so we went back in 23 to include them. And as I said, with Chantel, we didn't get that funding. With River Street, we did the exact same thing, and we did get at least the letter of intent to fund that. And so as I showed you earlier, just as these were the areas you saw for River Street Network, so that's why those areas are like that. So to get to that universal coverage, as I talked about before, this is kind of what their proposal would look like. So I don't know if anybody has any questions.
It's not really a question for you specifically, but when you have underground power lines, they require a certain kind of sheathing, right, to put the power line underground. With the fiber, somebody mentioned that the water doesn't affect it. Is the fiber that goes underground, does it have a different kind of sheathing than it does if it's between poles?
It absolutely does. Yeah, we put ours in conduit. You kind of see these giant rolls of conduit out on the sides of the road. Yes.
So even though it's water resistant, it still requires more protection.
Because there's still risk underground of cuts, and so we do as much as we can to protect that. And, the depth we go down and then the conduit we put in. Thanks.
Any other questions for Mr. Kyle?
Have you guys gained any traction on getting this utility to actually start marking your stuff again?
It's a challenge for every provider.
You're not kidding.
In the state, we are meeting with them weekly, and I think a lot of people, maybe we take it offline, but this has gotten a lot of attention, right? And I think Miss Utility is going back and trying to provide some additional detail. Are you talking about drops specifically? Earlier in the year, there were just lots of misses on markings.
No, they just don't show up. I mean, I mentioned it a couple of times. Out of 10 homes we work at here in the county, 9 of them won't have markings.
All right, so that's a resource allocation there, short
It's not,
staff.
not to interrupt, but
Yeah.
it's not really a Miss Utility problem.
Right.
You gotta remember, Miss Utility is the middleman. The utilities themselves mark their own fiber, or they hire an outside contractor to mark that fiber. Miss Utility has been telling those outside contractors and us as providers, hey, this is coming. This is coming. If you have stuff in the ground, know that you better start staffing up and getting ready, because we're dumping millions into this. And the big boy providers, the Verizons, the Comcasts, that have, 50 years worth of cable in the ground, they didn't do it. They just didn't listen. And now they can't keep up.
Yeah, but most houses you go to that aren't marked are Chantel. So. We just cut it. I mean, we don't know where it's at. We just cut it and move on. Well, power's always marked, because that'll kill you, but.
Let me get your contact information, and if we're, haven't done something here in Franklin County, yeah, we can.
Oh, it doesn't slow us down. It's an inconvenience for our customer.
Yeah,
Well, that's why he wants your contact.
yeah.
Oh, just call me anytime, buddy.
Yeah.
You want, next time we show up a job, call you. Call you Monday. Call Mr. Tilly.
Thanks for bringing it up.
Any other questions for Mr. Kyle? We appreciate you submitting a proposal for us. Steve, did you have anything in closing on Chantel's proposal?
No, after Rodney
Yeah.
goes, I'll
Sure.
kind of circle back on
Sure.
all of it.
Rodney, welcome.
Well, thank you very much for having me here. I know it's extremely late, and
No,
I'm
you're
trying not to keep
fine.
you very long.
You're fine.
So really, I wanted to just come here and introduce ourselves, because we haven't done any work in Franklin County before. We're super excited about this. So, our company's name is Zytel. My name's Rodney Gray. I'm the Chief Operating Officer and one of the minority founding partners of Zytel. We were founded in 2017. We're headquartered in Bedford County. Our primary owner, Brandon Camden, is a resident of Bedford County, lives over there. Just to give you a quick brief history, the reason this company started is because Brandon and I ran an IT consulting company together for the past 15 years. He built a house in Bedford County, and Comcast wanted $55,000, $40,000, $55,000, somewhere in that range, to run coax cable down to driveway for cable TV. So we were sitting in the office one day, and I because we work from home a lot as IT people, and I'm like, "What? You enjoy coming into the office every day?" And he said, him and I both came to the conclusion of why not just put, for $50,000 put fiber in your whole neighborhood down there on the lake, and so we did, and that's what started Zytel. So we're not. It's one of the things that sets us and makes us different. We're not the leftovers of the Mob Bell companies or the co-op telephone companies. We're not communications companies. We're an IT computer company that saw a need and developed a company, developed a model, and we're building upon that. We do things a whole lot different than our national competitors. And, we do things like we partner with counties. We see that as a true partnership because we place our POPs, our points of presence. We work with your volunteer fire and rescue departments, and we place a POP in their closets. All volunteer rescue departments, they have an empty closet somewhere, they have empty space, and they're willing to trade the location, and we give them free internet and telephone and TV service forever. The highest speed internet we can provide, we'll give it to them in that building forever. We utilize dark fiber with infrastructure swaps with county governments. We really work with the county government to form a partnership and be part of the community. We'll open an office up in every community. We won 9 counties in North Carolina for our future to build down there, and we're opening an office up in every single one of those counties. So we keep our overhead low. I'm not a vice president of government affairs, and I'm not a district representative or anything like that. I'm the chief operating officer, minor owner, and I'm the one standing here talking to you, or Woodman Brandon standing here talking to you. We're not top heavy in our organization. We don't have 15 different vice presidents and directors of this and that. We keep our money and invest it into our employees. That's one of the things that we do different is all of our infrastructure is installed by organic employees to our company. We own the equipment. We install the equipment. We don't depend on the mercy of subcontractors and hiring subcontractors to come put the fiber in the ground. We do it ourselves. We keep those employees, we hire those employees. In fact, we're a prime contractor for Chantel. As in, when we're not putting fiber in the ground for ourselves, we put it in the ground for Chantel. We haven't done it in years because we're putting all of our own fiber in the ground, but we're also a prime contractor for AT&T. We put in about 400 miles of fiber in 2019 down in Little Rock, Arkansas for AT&T. We're very flexible in the way we do things. So if you guys have any questions or you don't like our plan, you don't like our things, the way we do things, you don't like the contribution we've asked for from the county, I can change that here with you. I don't have a board that I've got to go report to. I don't have 15 different vice presidents that have to meet and get together to find out if we can change because the county doesn't have, $800,000 to put in the pot. They only have $100,000. I can answer that question for you right now. I can make the decisions right here with you in front of you. It's not what Brandon wanted me to do, him and I may have a little bit of discussion about it, but him and I both agree that the commitments that we make to the organizations that we partner with, the other one's gonna honor it, and the rest of the people in our company are gonna honor that. It's just kind of one of the ways that we do business. So we're very flexible in the way we do our grant plan. So just real quick, some of you don't recognize these numbers, these maps are not easy to see, but this is our existing footprint in some of the areas in Bedford County that we've been building fiber since our first grant that we got with the CARES Act funding, back in 2019 with Bedford County. So it's just some of the areas. We're also right on the city of Danville's municipality networks, and one of the approved providers. The city of Danville owns their own fiber, and they just put us on it. So you go to the next one. This is our current existing footprint and body footprint for Bedford County, which is our neighbor county. And the reason I want to talk about Bedford County so much is because that lake right there, that's where our home is. We consider Franklin County as much as our home county. A lot of our employees that we have that work with us, they live here in Franklin County. In fact, the majority of our customer service ladies that work downstairs in our office, they live here in Franklin County, so when you call our office, somebody that's a citizen of Franklin County is going to answer the phone. But one of the good things that I can tell you about us, Zytel is in the top 10% of all the providers that were awarded active body builds right now. We're in the top 10% for completion. We are one of the few body award winners that did not apply for an extension. We will be completed with our body 2022 build, all 417 miles in Bedford County by the end of February 2024. We hope we're going to be I think we're going to be in the top one or two, if not the first provider to complete the project. We were the first provider to put fiber in the ground. We were the first provider to turn up a body customer for 2022 awards. I hope we're going to be the first to complete. It's kind of a pride thing for us right at this point right now. Our current active customer base in Bedford County, it's kind of small because we're still working on the splicing, but we're only at 965 customers in Bedford County. We have 2,754 client leads. With this changes, we're installing about 55 customers per week in Bedford County alone. And then 1809 it was a lot, the number for about 3 days ago, that's probably well over 2,000 with the number of phone calls we get that what we call Bedford County body addresses that we're turning up. Do the next one. Some of the deployment processes that we have, this is our timelines. We put a very specific timeline on things. Once again, we're almost all underground. Only about 10 to 15% of our plant is above ground. We do a lot of the pre-engineering for AEP, so we never even apply to put on poles that we know AEP is going to tell us that they've either got to move other providers' product that's on the pole or that we have to change the pole out. We don't even put those in there. We are a little bit on aerial, but we can, like I said, we're very flexible when we move to the ground. So this shows a little bit of the timeline of how long it takes us to get. We think that the proposal we have in front of you guys, we can get done in about 39 weeks after all the contracts are signed. So our proposal for Franklin County, this will show you the route. This is the specific fiber route that we put together. The dots represent all of the eligible
I
addresses.
was just gonna say, the numbers may not be exactly what's on the sheet, because we.
And these numbers, I can
But
tell
they
you
should
right
be
now,
close.
Yep.
Should be close.
but these numbers don't mean anything at all legitimately because VADI hasn't closed their challenge process yet. All of your providers that are in your county are gonna challenge this 2,739 eligible addresses. It's gonna happen, that number's gonna go down, the number of eligible addresses are getting challenged right now from existing providers, so those numbers are gonna go down, that's all gonna change. Just like Steve said, we think the body request right around 5 million is the sweet spot, any below that and lower, we can go. Our ultimate goal is to put a winning bid in front of body so we can get it awarded. I know that one of the other providers had a $0 input by the county, we think that's a mistake. Even if it's just $1, that $816,000 was just a percentage breakdown. Whatever the board and the supervisors feel is necessary, but we do feel, even if it's $1 that the county wants to put in, you get points in an application for a county contribution of any percentage. If we were chosen as the provider, it's something that Steve and the Broadband Authority would look at. Where is the sweet spot of the points that we're going to get on how much the county would need to contribute to get the best points? The number that's up there for the 2739, that's only a body number that you need to worry about. Once we get awarded, the number you worry about is your total passings. This route right here that we have proposed would touch 6,056 county addresses. So what that means is that you're gonna have about 3,000 addresses, 3,200 addresses that are gonna have a choice in provider. You're gonna have competitive choice for providers. Go to the next one. It's just a bigger map I put on here so you guys can see the route that we're gonna take coming across the bridge and, coming down through Rocky Mount, heading over some to, Callaway and down south towards the, and I think it's the Henry County border. So we've also put together, this is the, I guess, the negative of the rest of the eligible addresses in, Franklin County. Once again, that 3,300 eligible addresses is gonna get challenged. There's ones in there that River Street and Chantel and others are gonna, they're challenging right now to get rid of. But we haven't come up with any dollar amounts for that because we don't really see any point in it other than until we get the challenge numbers back. And then this is once again just a larger map of the same route that we've got planned. Were you ready? Yeah, go ahead, jump in. I'll try to get through this. This is our pricing. We're very transparent about our pricing and about what we offer. We post it on the front page of our website, and we're very transparent about it. This has been our pricing since we started doing business. We don't foresee any increases in our prices, but that's one of the things that we do different than our competitors. We don't offer some special $29.95 for the first 12 months, first month free internet, and then when all the dust settles, you realize you've got a $250 a month bill. I know because I lived in Roanoke most of my adult life, and I was with Cox Cable. Not to talk about my competitors, but this is my cable company. I'd have a $150 cable TV bill, and all of a sudden I get the next one. Next month it was $300 a month, and I'm calling them, what in the heck is going on? And they're like, oh, well, you were out your promotional period, and we don't really have any promotions for existing customers. They're all for new customers. And I had to go to customer retention, threatened to leave to go to a non-existing competitive provider that was not there, and finally get it back down to some type of promotion after 14 phone calls and threatening to disconnect. We don't do that. The price you get, you're a month-to-month customer. There's no long commitment with us. You're a month-to-month customer. Our customer service, our commitment to bringing a great product to you guys is going to keep you as a customer. So we don't play any of those games. Some of the new stuff coming in, we do have a TV
I have
service.
a question on the prior slide.
Yes, sir.
So for any of the charges on the left, it's that charge plus the cost for the router on the bottom. So it's like,
If you choose to use our router, you don't have to use our router. We give you the ONT, which is what a lot of people would call the cable modem, but it's really an ONT, an optical network terminator. Turns the fiber into Ethernet cable that you can plug into any router. You can use your own router. Those prices will include, you have FCC fees, Virginia VDOT right-of-way fees that add up to about $4 or $5 per month. So we're bringing out we want to offer a completely free internet service for those that qualify for the ACP program. If you qualify for the ACP program, then we have $29.99, 50 meg up and down speed. That'll be a completely free internet service for your low-income families if they do qualify for ACP. Some of the new things for 2024 and 2025, we are testing right now XGS PON for 10 gig up and down speeds. That's probably going to be out before we would even start the installation here, so we would have the ability to offer Franklin County customers 2.5 gig internet, 5 gig internet, and 10 gig internet. We've already actually launched most of Zytel Business, which offers voice over IP phone services, managed network and Wi-Fi, managed IT consulting services, which is basically what we were before we started Zytel, and we've integrated that company of IT consulting. And we're also launching an AWS local competitor for Zytel Cloud. This is one of the things that I really want to tell you guys about that we do different. Remember I told you that Brandon built a house, they wanted $50,000 to pull cable down his driveway? We don't ever want to have somebody, because they live on a 3,000 foot down a gravel road to get to their farmhouse, to not be able to get it. So we give you 1,000 foot for free, which is unheard of in this industry. We put 1,000 foot of fiber drop into your home for free. Anything above that is only going to be $1 a foot. So it's 3,000 foot. Granted, it's going to be $2,000, but 3,000 foot, which is well over a half a mile of fiber, we'll do it for $2,000. But we also aren't going to charge you that up front. We're going to let you come in here and say, okay, now I can be a committed customer of 2 years, 3 years. We'll give you a 25% discount off that total cost, and we'll divide it up to like $10, $12 a month, which is what people can stomach. Still get a completely free installation, and you pay about $12 to $15 additional per month for that extremely long drop to get the service to your home. That's it.
Okay, questions?
Can you provide
fried internet, 224 Hidden Meadows Lane. Rocky Mountain.
I wish I could provide internet somewhere in Kirkland County, but I'm gonna tell you right now, whatever it takes with you guys, Zytel wants to consider Franklin County just as much as our home county as we do Bedford County. We wanna get across that bridge, we wanna build all the way across the county, so.
So can I ask just a silly question? Why is the county contribution, 4 times the amount, for instance, from Chantel?
It's a percentage figure that we threw in
It's
there.
just a percentage of
We had no
what?
guy, I mean, nothing against Steve, and I'm sorry to throw you under the bus, Steve, but Steve said, I don't know. So we picked a figure that was a percentage of what our match would, what we thought would get us significant points in the application process. If the board decides that that match is too much for the county, we will adjust our private contribution. We want to see that body request go down. We want to see it get under 5 million. If that means more private contribution from us, it's more private contribution from us. We will commit to that right now, to get that to a winning body application. And it's all a moot point because we don't know what the challenged addresses are gonna look like when they come back there. And we probably won't know that until January.
Can you just briefly describe what it means for everybody in the room about challenged addresses?
So
224 Hidden Meadows Lane.
what it is that, all of us, the providers, we have to upload 477, it's called 477 data, they're biannually FCC reports. We submit that, we also submit data to Virginia Tech, they compile these big databases of where we provide service. DHCD, who administers the body program, gets all that data, and then they determine based on your GIS system, what addresses are unserved and underserved, and they give that to us and say, here's the addresses that Franklin County needs to serve. They publish that, we put quotes together, and then other providers that currently provide service in Franklin County, Shentel, Comcast, we don't have Comcast. You don't have Comcast here at all?
No.
So Shentel, Spectrum?
Shentel,
Shentel and CenturyLink.
Brightspeed.
Brightspeed, they'll say, you know what, we do provide service that's 100 over 200 in this address, so they'll officially challenge the address, and then
Okay,
it'll get removed, and it's not eligible for grant money.
gotcha.
Yeah, so the way the process works is after we submit an application, then there's a challenge period where each one of the ISPs can say, well, no, we serve this one, you can't count that. That's
They had originally said that
kind
they
of
were
how the
gonna
process works.
do the challenge period before the applications were due, so we were submitting for, post-challenge addresses, but that didn't happen this year.
And I think this, to be clear, this is trying to make sure state funding just goes to unserved versus
Sure.
where the private
So
capital to 100/1.
that's good, thank you.
And I will tell you, here's an example, in Bedford County, we got a large portion of our numbers from 2022 challenged by Comcast and got pulled. We still put fiber in those places, we just had less eligible addresses and our private contribution increased, we kept the body contribution the same. We still provided service to all those addresses, because it's one of the things we don't do. There's a group of addresses over there and a group of addresses over here, and we build fiber between them. We don't just give fiber to those two pockets of addresses that were eligible, we give fiber along the entire route, we put it in the ground. So those customers now have competitive choice in the market. And we believe we have the superior product and the superior customer service, and we'll get that business.
Okay, does anybody have any questions, with the Zytel presentation? Any questions, comments?
Can you get internet?
He's been up past his bedtime.
So we're,
Very well.
9 o'clock, I'm in bed.
So, Mr.
So we're in a good position in the sense that we have 3 very good companies that have offered us
Very blessed.
to work with us and wanna work with us, and I can tell you there's many counties in the state that are looking for one to work with.
That's right, we're very
So-
blessed.
We're fortunate in that aspect. The unfortunate part is, I think, at this point in the process where we are, I think we really need to make a decision, and that's where I need your guidance and direction as to which company should we move forward with to present a body application, and some parameters, as Rodney said, we really didn't have a discussion about, okay, how much money are we gonna set aside for broadband for body 2024? We never really had that discussion of a specific dollar amount, and so you saw those numbers before. Those numbers have been anywhere from 200,000 to 6.1 million, along the way. I know you heard from your financial people today, I know money's just not growing on trees, so to speak, you know, so that's one of the aspects. We wanna make sure whatever application we turn in has a competitive advantage or a competitive shot with body. And so I think in my conversations with each one of them, I think they've kind of all sharpened their pencils and provided what I think are very reasonable applications from all of them. I think they would all have a very good shot of getting funded. I think it's just, I need some help, I guess, from the authority as far as direction of where we wanna go from here. I guess the first question is, do we even wanna apply for Body 2024? Because the deadline is December 19th, so, I think
Let's start with
I've
that.
been moving on the presumption that we
Yes.
would apply for something, for Body 2024. But I'm kind of at a point now where, you know, I got about a month to pull this together and get an application in with one of the partners.
So Steve, let me ask you this, put you on the spot. You know, I get zero focused on the county contribution piece too. So, for instance, Chantel's at $250 and Zytel's at $816. So, because I'm not involved in the application process to batting, do we get more points on an application if we have more money and skin in the game as a locality?
I don't know if that's the actual thing to give you points as much as more as what is the percentage that is coming from non-body sources. So I think Rodney was right, as they wanna see some county contribution, but I don't think it affects the score if the county contributes more than the private or the private contributes more. I think it's more about what is that percentage. So the minimum that body will do is 20%.
Okay.
Well, maximum is 80% award, 20% non-state contribution. What we've seen in the past, each year, is that number has kind of come down, where they've expected the body request to be 60%, 50%, in some cases even down to 40%. That number has kind of been coming down because I think localities and private partners have realized, well, if we put more into the pot, then they'll look more favorably on that. So I don't think, to answer your question, I don't think the specific number from the county scores you points. It's more about the county and the provider non-state match. And if I've spoken wrong, you guys let me know, but I think that's really what they're looking at, is what's the percent non-state versus percent state is being asked for.
So another question, with these number of eligible households, if the board says, you know, what if we don't apply for round 4? What happens to these households that are underserved or non-served?
They don't get served until we get to B,
We're waiting on B then.
pretty
Just
much.
wanna make sure we're considering,
Now, again, I guess I should say, nothing we do here stops any of these providers from expanding
of course,
their network without any assistance from us in the
of
state.
course, of course.
Assuming they're not doing that, then those households don't get service until some other provider comes.
So let's start with that gentleman, what is your feedback for applying for the 4th round of body funds? Yes,
Steve, do whatever Steve wants to do.
Ronnie,
That's no help.
Mike?
I think we should apply.
Alright, you've got consensus, unanimous as a matter of fact, to move forward with batting 4. So are you asking then the authority to do a quick evaluation of these 3 proposals and choose one?
In essence, yeah, but you know, which one do you feel comfortable moving forward with to partner with on the 2024 application, really is.
Is there any variability that we should know about in making that decision? Because you're the one with the expertise. We know what we're trying to achieve and what the outcome needs to be in terms of covered households,
Right.
how we're achieving it by district. Are there one of these plans that stands out for what our outcome that we're looking to achieve?
Not really. Guess I can say I see some pros and cons to each one.
Okay,
Like I said earlier, each one of them, I think the body proposals are relatively similar. I mean, there's some little differences, but they're relatively similar. They're all fiber in the ground, underground fiber. They're going after those unserved households. You see the numbers there, the body households. I guess Couple things, and if you're asking my opinion.
Well, we do ask your opinion,
Couple
because we're
things I
late.
would just
we're
note
late
from,
people.
from where I sit. We haven't done a project with Brightspeed. You know, I think Brightspeed is anxious to start doing some fiber. They wanna do some build out, nationwide, not just here, but they've seen where they've had some issues here, I think, in the past, and so they wanted to, put in a proposal here. I don't have, experience working with them other than from the copper side. The number of households that in their initial proposal is a little lower than the others. But again, all of them have a proposal to reach them all through the two different applications. Shintel, we've obviously worked with them more. Had that relationship, had that grant from 23, which this is kind of a modification of that. It's scaled down a little bit to kind of make it a little more, what's the word, a little more enticing, if you will, for the state to bring the numbers down a little bit from the previous one. Where's that going?
Zytel.
Zytel, I think Zytel has a great proposal. I don't have any experience necessarily working with them, as he stated, they don't have a footprint in Franklin County. Doesn't mean they can't do it, just we don't have that familiarity with them. I think of these two applications are very close, very similar.
Well, that's fine,
That's
that's
kind of
good
where
enough.
I am,
That's
is,
good
you know,
enough.
I can see value points in each one, I
That's
can
good
see,
enough. Well, and, you know, one of the things I can lend to my colleagues here, you know, I work with several supervisors over at Bedford, and Zytel's in Bedford, which they've told you, they've had a very good experience with Zytel. So there's a reference point if you should need that in your consideration. So even though you're not here in Franklin, I think the experience that I've been told that Bedford's having is a very good one.
and that's just, yeah, that's not a knock on them, cause we just haven't had the experience of
Yeah,
working
that's what I'm
together, and so, we've worked on this the last few weeks and tried to put some stuff together.
So, maybe what we could do, is, I'll just go to each one of you and you tell me if you, want to state your preference. And we'll try to get to a consensus on one. Ronnie?
I don't wanna go first.
Mike?
Well, just looking at them, Brightspeed's 1,321 households, no contribution from the county. Shintel's 2273, that's 952 more households, with our contribution being $250,000, which is $109 per household. Zytel's 2739, that's 466 more households than Shintel, so that's the most, at a cost approximately for the county of $298 per household. And I'm not, I like all the presentations. I'm sort of middle of the road, maybe Shintel, because in Chris's defense, his map looked like it covered more area to me of the county, and that may not be right, I'm not sure. But, and I guess my other concern is where are we gonna come up with the $250,000 contribution for our part of the money?
We do, I think in the, broadband capital account, we have that funding, you know, in place. And Rodney's correct, you know, I purposely, I did not tell them, hey, it's gotta be this number, because I didn't know what that number was, so.
And maybe Rodney can come
Rodney,
closer to
you have a
Shintel's
better number.
I'll
number.
drop to $1 right now. I mean, like I said, I can make that decision. I can tell you right now, we do not require county match at all to come in. We can make it yours a $0 per, and all of that $800,000 will come out from private funding from us. That, you know, and even if when we get into the point of having challenged addresses and working with Steve on developing the proposal for body, if we feel our contribution needs to become more, so we can get the body request down to around $4 million, because that's what we believe funded, we're willing to invest that money. We have the money ready. We have the desire. We're not applying, we are working on an application with Carroll County, I'll be upfront. Our original application for body in 2022, which was our first, was with only Bedford County. We were a smaller company than all of our other competitors, but we did not overextend. We could have went out and applied for 20 counties and won them all, and then we would not be one of the #1 providers in the state of getting them completed. This year, we're gonna apply for 2 counties, Carroll County and a portion of Franklin County. So
Okay,
And you applied for Carroll last year.
we did apply for Carroll last year, and it was, I think, right below you guys, by a couple numbers.
Yeah,
So
I think we were the next one below, and then Spotsylvania, and then, Carroll.
so Nick,
Below
what
that.
would you say?
Steve is our expert on this, and I'm gonna go with whatever he says.
He's not gonna do that. This is a broadband authority decision.
Alright.
It's not fair to Steve to do that.
I'm ready to talk if Nick needs a second. Thank you.
I need a second.
Need a
Okay,
second? Chantel's great. We've done a lot with them since I've been on the board. But in Zytel's defense, I'm one of these homeowners that was told by Chantel it's gonna cost 15 grand to get internet up to my house. So if that man's gonna give me 1,000 feet for free, and then I just gotta pay whatever 1,000, I mean, there's tons of people like me and Kelly in the county that live far off the main road. I don't even think Chantel comes up the road that my private road is off of. So I think this is just another tool in our
Yes.
internet,
of course.
in our internet tool chest, if we wanna call it that. I mean, you guys are great. I love you guys. But like, if they can't provide internet to people like me that live a quarter mile off the road, and trust me, there's tons of people like that, and I hear it all the time, oh gosh, it's gonna cost 20 grand to get internet in my house. I mean,
So you was Zytel.
my vote would be with that too.
Okay, Mike?
If he can trim down that county contribution to, and do, I will go with Zytel.
I'm Zytel.
He wants to say something.
Chris, I'm sorry.
If I could, so I'm not sure when we told you that there's a LECAP program, we've got 15 or so going right now, and that is grant funding for these long drops.
Okay.
What we call them, so, how long was it, I can research that, I'll be brief on that one. When we do these, just in the past year, we've picked up another 100+ addresses here in the
This
county.
is the grant that I got filled out?
That were not, correct, you have to give us some authority and we do it with you.
I don't have time for that, I'm sorry.
But it's LECAP, I mean, there's.
All right.
And so the last thing I'll say is, in terms of the contribution, we can clearly, we have the capital. I would ask if, I'm not sure, I'm not ready to say we're going to $1 tonight, but not to let that be the deciding factor.
Understood.
Because within a day, we could.
It's
provide-
negotiable.
That's right, we can provide this.
Okay, all right, so unless Chris has said something to change your mind, you're Zytel, Mike, you're Zytel, Nick.
I'm with you guys.
I'm gonna make him grow a backbone if it's the last thing I do here.
I've
I'm
got
with
to
Zytel.
call my employees, let them know what we're doing tomorrow, so.
I'm with Zytel.
Yeah.
I'm with Zytel, and I am most appreciative of Chantel's been tremendous.
I've wanted shit done in my house for 8 years.
Well, it's been tremendous. It's had its problems that we've addressed. I welcome Zytel to come into the mix, in Franklin County. I've met with Rodney and Steve, had that opportunity, and would have welcomed that from anybody, really.
Just when you're done, I was just gonna, I know you guys were talking about another meeting, so I was gonna say, since we lost half of our board, if you want to work on fine tuning these and wait for the rest of them to come, if you're gonna have a special meeting, I can't wait till December 19th, because that's
No,
what I want you to
I
do.
wouldn't want us to.
Yeah. If there's still some things you want them to clarify, or questions you have, or you want the other members to be present, I think, Chris, we were talking about maybe the first week of December having a meeting that, and I'm just throwing that out there, cause I know we're missing 3 members.
Well, the problem with that is that
Just-
we have declared our interest at this point.
Well, it just,
And that just sets up a paper tiger for the other members. Now, we can
Well-
certainly wait for input from our other colleagues. I don't have any objection about that, but I wish that we hadn't gone this far down the road.
You got 4 here to make a vote to make it.
what's your comfort level in voting without the other three here? Mike,
I'm fine with it.
Nick? Okay, all right.
And so,
As opposed to another meeting.
if that's,
I don't have much to work with here.
I heard some discussion about the county contribution, so. if
So
we're
let's
moving in that
narrow that
direction,
down.
what's
Let's get
the-
the numbers somewhere.
Yeah, we would say 0. Do you all wanna set a number other than 0?
No, I mean.
I would agree with Rodney that we probably should put something in the mix because
Okay.
the state looks at that better than
If you have $1,
zero, if that's.
$100,000? I mean, what are we talking about,
I was
Steve?
thinking more like $10.
Tree fitting.
We had,
Just
I
get-
can tell you, our county applications for the Great Grant Program in North Carolina, of the 9 counties who won, 3 of them literally had $1 written
Oh.
into their MOU of a $1 contribution. It's all. it
Whatever
takes.
best deal for the county.
Steve, I would yield to you on that issue. Seriously, you're putting the application together. I don't know what we need to say. We're not experts here.
Steve, are you only allowed to make one body application?
No, you can make multiple applications.
I need
I
to
think
vote.
the challenge we're gonna have is who gets what, like,
I understand.
you know, the households
We can
are
take a 5-minute break, it's all.
fixed, if you will. I mean, that could be another opportunity. I don't know if that's an interest of either.
We need to take a 5-minute break, so, Ronnie. I know. Can,
Well, I mean, how much longer do you think this is gonna go?
I got the dollar.
alright, Steve, what do you recommend for the dollar amount?
I really don't know, cause I've never had one that low that we've worked with.
I've never asked Chandler and them over at the ECD on what the minimum number is. I know what it is in North Carolina, I don't know what it is in Virginia. I don't think there is a minimum. I mean, I've seen body
I guess
applications
you
with
just
0.
say
I've never
whatever-
seen one with.
Whatever the state minimum is.
Minimum amount.
Huh?
If you were not to exceed, if you got some feedback from the HCD.
Yeah, we could do that, or we could approve it contingent upon, an amount not to exceed.
Not to exceed,
So, do you have an amount in mind, Mr. Carter?
I doubt it, but if we put that wording, we've gotta put an amount, I don't know, $200.
Well, I mean,
Rodney said they got them approved for $1.
this
Well-
is just me thinking, which my head's hurting, Jim, but like, and Steve, like, should we put a decent amount on there so that we don't look like we're being cheapskates?
Well, we're gonna have to pay it, whatever we put on there.
I have no idea, this is Steve's.
Well, as I said earlier, I don't think there's a minimum for the county per se, but I think they do look favorably if there is some contribution. Now, the one thing we've done in the past is we've used, in-kind services as well. So the cost of my time, because I spend a lot of time working on these applications, by the way, I hope you guys can help me put the application together.
That's part of the deal.
Completed.
Steve,
And our
Not to
county
exceed
attorney as
10
well,
grand.
so in-kind services we can do, but I don't know
oh, we gotta quantify it.
a number that,
So $500,
Marshall, what do you think, buddy?
$1,000,
Not to exceed 10 grand.
10 grand, okay.
Done.
Alright, so I need a motion, you've got the language in front of you. You've got the numbers here on your chart, and you need to fill in the blanks here with the Zytel numbers that are in your chart.
This is tonight, furthermore proves what I've said for 4 years. We should not be the broadband.
I know that,
We should not.
I know that.
We should all be home right now.
Alright,
We need a broadband.
alright, we need a motion,
So moved.
but you need to plug in the numbers.
Yeah, so not knowing, so I gave you kind of a sample motion, not knowing which direction and which one you would wanna go with. So the important numbers for me is I need to know how many eligible body addresses, the minimum number that,
Okay, that's
We wanna hit-
2739
eligible
With
addresses with Zytel,
to request no more than
uh,
state Virginia.
so their proposal was what was it?
5,266, that provider cost?
He had mentioned about maybe getting down below 5, but
No, remember that the whole number of passings, we can put that in an agreement now, but any MOU
It's
is
gonna
gonna
change.
have to reflect the post-challenged number, because the HCD is still saying they're trying to get out the challenged final numbers before December 19th, and you would have to augment your applications, even if they release those numbers on December the 18th.
So we're requesting no more than how many dollars from the state?
Well, the current proposal was 5.42, sorry.
Really, 5.3. 5.3 million.
But he had made a comment about decreasing that, or potential to decrease that, so I don't know.
We'll say approximate.
Well, no, I
No.
think it needs to be a not to exceed.
A not to exceed number of $5.3 million from the state of Virginia with no more than $10,000 Franklin County matching funds. Is it matching or contribution?
I got it.
Well, it's kind of matching.
It's matching, okay.
Alright, I make a motion to direct staff to move forward with body 2024 application to expand fiber broadband service to at least 2,739 body eligible addresses with Zytel to request no more than $5.3 million from the state of Virginia with no more than $10,000 of county matching funds. Furthermore, I move to authorize the county staff and county attorney to sign appropriate documents and file application by deadline December 19th, 2023.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. Is there any further discussion?
No.
Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, unanimously agreed upon. Gentlemen, thank you for your deliberations. And Chris and Rodney, and that's Chris on the phone, right?
Chris Dillon, if he's still on the phone, yes.
Please extend our gratitude to him as well. And,
Now we have some public speakers out.
no, we don't. Okay, so,
Madam Chair, I'm Steve, make a note.
pardon?
I wanted to follow up on something Ronnie Mitchell said.
All right, you guys hang on a
Yes,
second.
sir.
Mike, sit.
If you're not gonna have the board be the broadband authority, then I would suggest that Ronnie and Tommy should be the first two members of the broadband authority next year.
I agree. I think that's brilliant.
And I thank you for volunteering.
So gentlemen, I need a motion to adjourn in a second.
So moved.
And all those in favor?
So we have to-
All right.
I'll draw up the paperwork.